Okay, welcome to everybody. This is a regular meeting this Thursday, December 14th, 2023. And whoops. Okay, well, anyway, here we are. We are with our December meeting, December 14th, 2023. This is a hybrid meeting. We do have 3 teleconference locations. Actually 4. It turns out that Tony Estamera or his alternate will be coming from Valley Water. And then we've got Mojave, we've got Adnan Anabdawi. And then at Paris, Las Vegas, we've got Robert Cheng. And then I believe today our attorney, Josh Nelson, is also going to be attending via Zoom. So at this point, we are going to go into our closed session. And
President.
I first have to do, sorry, but call to order. Would we please do roll call?
Gladly. President Palmer.
Here.
Director Millibar. Director Martin.
Here.
Director Luna.
Present.
Director Estamera. Director Chang.
Here.
Oh, thank you. And Director Anabdawi.
Here.
Excellent. President Palmer, we have a quorum.
Have present any alternates at this point?
Palmer, I do not see that we have participation from alternate directors currently.
That might be at the regular meeting. They will make note of that at that point. Okay, so ladies, gents, and everyone else, we're going to go into closed session at this point. It will come out and start the regular meeting approximately at 2 o'clock. Thank you. Oh, okay. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We have just come out of closed session. So we're open for the regular meeting. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay,
that's great. Now, we do have some folks who have joined us since our last roll. Claudia, would you acknowledge that for us?
Gladly, President Palmer. So I do see that we have alternate Director Keegan online, alternate Director Russ LaFave, and I'm not sure that I see any of our other alternate directors online at the moment.
Okay, and so alternate Director Keegan is taking the place of
Director Estamera is on as well.
He was not here when we did the roll to start with, so.
Oh, yes, and I'd also like to acknowledge that Director Estamera is now in the meeting as well.
Joined us. Okay, thank you very much. All right, then in terms of coming out of closed session, we have no actionable items out of closed session. We will be addressing one of the items that we discussed in item 6D, and that will come up later. Thank you. Okay, so moving on to here, we have approval of the minutes. Do I have an approval of the minutes?
Motion.
Okay, that's
second.
Director Chang and Director Luna. Okay, so there we move right on. Anybody, I guess we can, if we have a Zoom, do we have to do a roll vote on this one? Okay, let's take a roll vote.
Starting with President Palmer.
Yes.
Director Millibar. Director Martin.
Yes.
Luna.
Aye.
Director Estamera.
Aye.
Director Chang.
Aye.
And Director Anabdawi.
Yes.
Thank you. Minutes have been approved.
Okay, great. Now we're moving on to item 6, of which we have got a fair number of things, and that is the discussion items. So let's start out with the December DCA monthly report.
Thank you, President Palmer. Thanks, Claudia, for pulling that up. If we could go ahead and go to section 1. Okay. Great. Thanks, Claudia. So I'll start with the program management aspects of work performed. So this is reporting out on activities in November of 23. We have a number of ongoing activities associated with, first of all, the continued processing of invoices from fiscal year 23-24. The board will recall that we did fully close out FY 22-23. So there's no longer any activities associated with completion or closeout of last fiscal year. So our focus is now purely on the current fiscal year. We continue the development work for a potential master program schedule. Also a significant amount of work associated with our implementation plan. This is generally internal activities associated with training, development of standard operating procedures and necessary management plans. With focused on what is our current phase and current activities, but also with an eye towards where we will need to be if and when there is a project that moves forward. One last item, we did perform internally, internal controls audit on a couple of contract terms just to go through all of our time and materials contract and validate that there has been good performance associated with that. It is leading in a really productive way to a couple of continuous improvement items. So this just feeds right back into our SOPs and management plans. We continue to look for gaps in our current program and make sure that we've got plans and protocols in place to manage the situations going forward. So always a good opportunity to learn. On the administrative side, a lot of it, as it has been, support to the board of directors, a lot of our website information and updates. Our change board program, our change management process and change board management is led through the administration activities. We have been continuing with our alignment tours for the program. Although we are taking a bit of a hiatus now through the winter, we did have tours even into November. So that was also a really, really productive month for getting out and exploring potential project alignment. On the engineering front, our primary commitment continues to be supporting the Department of Water Resources with all of their ongoing permit activities, responding to any requests for clarification. We've also been working on, we've also been working on an update for the engineering project report. So this is the engineering basis for all of the environmental analysis documented in the draft EIR, well, what is now released as a final EIR. So we updated the engineering project reports with a supplemental document that we have posted on the DCA website to support release of that final EIR. Additionally, the DCA continues the community benefits program support. We're providing any necessary engineering, cost estimating, participation and any community meetings that are ongoing. And then lastly, I'll just point to, we still are in the process with our field work of collecting ongoing subsurface information to support DWR's evaluation of alternatives and just help to better understand conditions across the Delta. And that information is also being fed back through the engineering team so that we can continue to validate the assumptions that were made during the concept design phase. And the fieldwork teams, we actually have 5 drill rigs and a cone penetrometer rig out in the field right now. So they're working very hard to get the last bit of investigative work that we had intended for this fall. Our hope is to finish all of that work before the holidays, but we'll see how cooperative the weather is going to be. We do have some weather coming early part of next week, but I'm optimistic that we're going to get all of the fall program work done here with this last big push. We do still have the kind of the tail end of processing from earlier this year, the tail end being the laboratory analysis, finalization of the soil characterizations. That's just part of the sort of long process of data collection, but those activities are also continuing, and we're steering towards wrapping that up, but that will continue as we get the fall program information in and continue processing all of that. Okay, next, Claudia, let's go to community engagement, please. Just a couple highlights that I would like to point to. We are continuing to work on our fact sheets. You can see a couple of examples there on the right-hand side with the graphics. These are agency-specific fact sheets that we're working with the Department of Water Resources and all of the individual participating public water agencies to pull together state water project fact sheets for each of the agencies as a really useful resource. We're also continuing to work with the Department of Water Resources on social media content, helping to highlight the importance of Delta conveyance and how it fits into the overall scheme of the state water project and statewide water issues. We continue to develop what we're calling closer look fact sheets. And so these drill into individual topics that are important and relevant, but are being prepared and summarized in individual documents for distribution. And then also continuing with our social media and advertising information, just again, trying to increase overall awareness around the Delta Conveyance Project. Claudia, could we jump to the budget summary? So in terms of our budget to date, we have an approved fiscal year 23-24 budget of 40.4 million. We have committed just under 33 million. So we're still holding back in reserve about 7.5 million. We've incurred to date just under 11 million. And I'll show you here in just a minute with our cash flow plot that we're very much on track with the projected expenditures to date. At this point, we're still forecasting full expenditure of the budget. That's something that we'll really start reassessing in earnest beginning in January and starting to sort out whether we think we will fully expend this year's budget. If we're going to reposition funds for modified scopes in the second half of the year, that will all happen coming up here in January. So Claudia, yeah, let's go to the cash flow plot, please. So here is our depiction of planned monthly expenditures. So those are in the vertical bars as monthly. Those align to the axis on the left-hand side of the plot. The cumulative line is the blue line cutting across, and then the pink dashed line, those align with the axis on the right-hand side of the plot. So far this fiscal year, we've been really on track in terms of our projected and planned expenditures in blue matched against the actuals in gold. You can see those are really closely aligned so far with the first 4 months of the fiscal year. We'll see what November and December turn out like, but has been a very busy couple of months. So I do expect we're going to continue to track pretty well. What you see reflected in this plan is a full expenditure of the budget. So we, as I mentioned, we have about 7.5 million still held back in reserve. So this is pending DWR's decision about the project, then our reassessment of scope items and what we're going to do beginning in January. Any potential distribution and assignment of that remaining funding along with added scope of work will happen at that time. And that's what this plan is based on. So we're still waiting for DWR's ultimate decision on the project and then our reassessment of the current plan and scope. And if we're moving forward, we do plan to distribute those held back funds associated with various task items. So lastly, Claudia, if we could just jump to the schedule slide, please. So our depiction of the schedule, this is our fiscal year summary of activities in general. We're very much on track with our high level program management and engineering activities. The one item that you'll see noted with the yellow icons on the right-hand side would be associated with the environmental clearance monitoring field exploration. This is, just as a reminder, a kind of a qualitative assessment of factors in terms of our progress and performance, but we do know that we're getting a slow start on the fall program. This is largely being driven by the access requirements for those sites, which is pretty much that entire program. I think 17 of 19 holes is all going through the court ordered entry process. And that has been a fairly time consuming process, but we're working our way through it. And we're actually now to the point where we're trying to catch up and see if we can get it all done before the holidays. So a little bit of a slow start on the fall program, but we've got all the equipment in place and hope to catch up.
What areas are you entering that require the extensive permitting process?
All the private parcels that we access are either negotiated through voluntary temporary entry permits. And then if that is not worked out, then there is a court-driven process that's being led by the state, by the Attorney General's office.
You encountering a lot of the latter?
Yeah, with this program, yes. It's ranged over the life of the work. This is the process that's been used what we will now have upon completing the fall program is somewhere around maybe 170, 180 or a little more explorations conducted to date. If you looked at that total collection, it's a mixture, but with this last round of 19 or 20 locations, these are mostly all going through the court ordered entry process.
So these 19 that you want to have, these will be done by the end of this month, or what is that?
We're
timeline?
hoping to have them done. All the work for the most part was initiated the beginning of this week. And so we have a limited window really dictated by the court documents that we need to get all the work done and get the equipment off the site. So our plan at this point would be to have it all done before the holidays.
Oh, pretty fast work. Good deal. Okay.
Okay, so President Palmer, that completes my update, but would welcome any questions.
Okay, do we have any questions? Anybody here in the room? And how about, do we have Zoom board members with questions? Claudia, nothing?
President Palmer, we do not have any questions online, nor have we received public comment requests.
So no public comment requests either. Okay, great. Then let's move on
Oh,
to.
I do see that OSHA is raising her hand.
Okay, OSHA, go right ahead. have
Thank
three-
you. Sorry, I did it the old fashioned way. I couldn't find the other one. Just a point of clarification with respect to this item of the geotechnical entries. Again, my name is OSHA Meserve, and I work with various local water districts and entities, including local agencies of the North Delta, and also have represented some of the landowners in the access litigation. And I just think it's important for the board members to understand that I don't know what the proportion is, but many landowners do not want DWR or DCA to come on their land to do drilling or other exploratory activities. And so there's a specific procedure that was provided via the pre-condemnation statute and interpreting case law that was developed with respect to the Twin Tunnels project or the prior BDCP, but still applies here. So I think one thing that we're concerned about is going into the future, DWR and DCA, I know, plan to do a lot more explorations. I don't know if it's every 1,000 feet of the tunnel proposed line, but it's a lot, right? It's a lot more than have been done here. And I just think people should be aware that private landowners, in large part, don't agree to have the state come on their land and poke holes and bring heavy equipment on. And then also, because of the project that it's promoting, this ultimately taking up to half the average flow of the Sacramento River and putting it in a tunnel, which many people do not believe is the best thing for the Delta or the best way to meet the water supply demands of the state, you know, they're going to insist upon the court-ordered process. So I just think it's important that everybody understand this is a very controversial project and that every step of the way is going to be very difficult. And I don't think it will be any different for those future investigations than it has been for the smaller number that Graham is talking about now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Please, everybody, as you're judging this, please check your facts on how much of the flow would actually be reduced. Next, do we have any other public comment on that?
President Palmer, I do not see that we have anyone else online that's raised their hand or have received public comments on this item.
Okay, great. Then we are moving on to 6B.
Thank you, President Palmer. I'll just introduce Russell Robertson with MGO. Our internal audit has been performed and Russell's going to provide a presentation to the board on the findings of our annual audit.
Thanks, Graham. As Graham indicated, my name is Russell Robertson. I was I am the senior manager in charge of this year's audit of the authority. Just a little background. This is our first year under contract with Metropolitan Water District, and in that agreement, we do an audit of the DCA's financial statement as it relates to cash receipts and cash disbursements. So I'll go into the agenda here. It's going to be a quick presentation. You'll see here. We'll go through the different sections rather quickly, but if there's any questions, I'll be here to answer those as we get through these. Next slide, please. As indicated, the scope of our service under this contract and the agreement is to audit the statement of the cash receipts and disbursements for the year ended June 30, 2023. And I'll go over the two deliverables that we're contracted for, one being the independent auditor's report that I noticed in the beginning of the slide deck. That's the report that I'll be referring to. We can go through some components of that, but also the required communications that we are required per our auditing standards to present to those in charge of governance, which is the board. Next slide, please. Yeah, we can go then. So this slide, I depict a quick, we don't have to go through each one of these, just kind of our flow of our audit responsibilities as it relates to generally accepted auditing standards. Obviously, our goal and what we're contracted for is to issue an audit opinion over your financial statements, and that's what we have done for this year. We follow AICD standards. Under those guidelines, we design our audit to obtain reasonable, not absolute assurance about whether the financial statements are free of material misstatement. Through the course of our review and our audit, we do look at internal controls to get an understanding of how the cash disbursements and the receipts are performed through the Metropolitan Water District's activity. So we did a thorough review of that, asked our internal control questions, got assurance over how the procedures are performed, and we express our opinion on the effectiveness. We don't express an opinion on the effectiveness of the controls, but we do make sure that they're implemented and designed in accordance to best practices. And if there's any findings, we do communicate those to management and here at the board. You'll see at the end of this presentation, there were no findings, so it's a positive aspect of our results. Now, next slide, please. So just audit results. It's a little different of a framework. This is on the CAS basis of accounting, which is still in accordance to GAAP, but we just want to make illustrate here that the financial statement that we did review and audit was the statement of cash receipts and disbursements, following our standards of generally accepted auditing standards. And the audit report that I referred to before, there was an unmodified opinion. I'll show you where to look for that as we go through the report itself very quickly. It's going to be on page 1, but we can do a quick review of the report as I indicated. Next slide, a couple slides here. So other than the audit report that has been issued, we are required to communicate certain information. I have bulleted items here. I've already went through our audit responsibility is to issue an opinion over the financial statements. The plan, scope, and timing. We included the scope and timing of the audit in our engagement letter with the Metropolitan Water District. That was indicated back in July of 2023. We conducted our field work through October, November of this year, and as a result, we were able to issue this report early or mid-November. The compliance with all ethics requirements regarding independence. There was no conflict of interest or no conflict in independence. Our firm was independent. All the related parties within this audit were independent, so no issues popped up there. Some of the significant aspects of the accounting practices, we communicate if there was any significant accounting policies, estimates, or disclosures that changed for the year. None came to our attention. So pretty straightforward from last year. There was no changes in those areas of the report. We are to communicate if there's any difficulties encountered during the audit. There were none. Pretty easy to get through the information. All the information was provided to us when we worked with the water district. So that was very easy to get through the testing. There were no corrected or uncorrected misstatements. Everything that was supposed to be reported was reported, and no changes in what was on the financial statements. There were no disagreements with management. We did get representation from management that the financial statements were prepared by them, and then everything was in line with what was the required disclosures within those financial statements. There were no management consultant or other accountants used during this audit. No other significant matters that popped up, or no findings that I mentioned, or any kind of other issues. So if we wanted to go briefly, well, let me open up there. Any questions on this part of the other communications?
Okay, any questions from the board? Any questions from the board on the on Zoom? None? Okay, proceed.
Okay, so real quick, if we wanted, Claudia, if we want to go back to the, I guess it's going to be the first part of the slide. Yeah, so here, this is the report. Pretty straightforward. We have our opinion here. So as it indicated before, note 1. This is what we're looking for. This is we have an unqualified opinion, which is a clean opinion. So no, like I mentioned before, no issues, no findings, no adjustments. And we have here just some basic inclusion of our report as how we base our opinion. We do have an emphasis of matter on here because it is a different framework. It's on the cash basis instead of a full set of we don't have the traditional format of encumbering or accrual basis accounting. This is on the cash basis, so we have to make that identifier in our report. If we want to roll forward a little bit, I think we want to go to, if we go to the financial statement itself, if we can get through here. This is just, and so this is how it's presented. I think you can see some comparisons there, and results. Contributions went up. I'm sure you have internal discussions on this. Graham will highlight areas as we go forward, but you can see some of the differences. But pretty much in line with last year's results, with the exception of receipts that went up. So I didn't notice any other and the cash at the end of the year that increased. So we can go to the next couple pages are just the note disclosures that I talked about. No changes in those from the prior year. And yeah, you know, overall very clean, very easy. I want to thank the Water District for helping us out with the information. Answering all our questions, everything went smoothly. So I think that concludes my presentation. I want to thank you for allowing me to present the results, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Great. Okay. Do we have any questions from the board? Anything on Zoom?
Not see that we have any requests that have come in.
And
Oh, Catano actually just raised her hand.
okay, Katano, go ahead.
Hi, thank you. I just want to thank Russ and his team. This was their first time and you made it really smooth for us. So I appreciate your work. And I also want to thank our controller, Bernadette Robertson. I think no relations, but I want to thank her and her team for the hard work, and Graham and your team. So thank you, everybody, because it usually is a lot of work, especially if it doesn't go smooth, but I think you guys made it smooth. So thank you.
Thank you.
Nothing. Okay, then let's move on. We are on to the senior leadership spotlight. You are in the spotlight.
Yes.
So thank you, President Palmer. So if you don't, Adam, I'll introduce you real quick, if you don't mind. So we've been lucky enough to have Adam Murdock on board as our design manager since April of this year. So he's got his legs fully underneath him. He was involved prior to April as part of various technical review teams, subject matter expert groups, review teams. So he's no stranger to the program, but we're very lucky to have Adam, and I'm happy to introduce him to you all today. So Adam.
Yeah, thank you. So thank you for inviting me in here and happy to visit with you today. If you'll go to the next slide, Claudia. So I put some slides together and I guess I'll start with the personal information. Who am I? Oftentimes people ask, well, where are you from? I was raised in a little town called Mountain Green, Utah, which is in the Wasatch Mountains. If you ski and you've ever been to Park City, it's north of there, but it was a small town of about 1,800 people. It's the kind of place where the whole county goes to the same high school and, graduating class of 118. Just this last summer, I celebrated my 25-year wedding anniversary with my wife. You can see in the photos there. We have 3 wonderful kids, ages 18, 21, and 24. And then when it comes to what I like to do, anything that has to do with the outdoors, I like to do it. So if that's hiking, fishing, skiing, hunting, or mountain biking. So there's some photos that just kind of show what I do outside of work. My education and background, I have a bachelor's degree in civil engineering as well as a master's degree in civil environmental engineering from Utah State University. My focus was hydraulics and as related to water. So next slide, my professional background and experience. I joined C.H. Hill, who was later acquired by Jacobs 24 years ago. While at the firm, I most recently was the global director of our conveyance and storage market. And so I oversaw our conveyance market across the globe, but really also focused here in North America. I gave that up as I came on board to the DCA. Other leadership positions was just West Region Conveyance Market Lead. And then I also ran our Utah water market for a couple of years. But at the end of the day, at my core, I'm a project manager, a design manager, and I'm always an engineer first, as one of my mentors taught me. Prior to joining C.H. Hill, I did work at a water conservancy district for 2 years, right out of college. And then while I was going to grad school, I was able to work at a hydraulics lab where we actually did physical models of dams and spillways and pump stations and stuff like that. So if you were to sum up my experience, I threw a map up there when I tried to put some stars on kind of all the places I've worked across North America. And so I've had the pleasure to work with water agencies across the country and really develop a good perspective of how they address their challenging water issues. The work I've done, I've delivered work with all types of collaborative delivery approaches or alternative delivery, whether it be design, bid, build, progressive design, build, or construction manager at risk. And so I've really enjoyed solving critical water infrastructure challenges across the country with a diversity of different solutions to solve those. So there's some photos there of some of my work that I've done. And if we'll go to the next slide, I'll expand just a little bit more on my experience. Probably the best way to sum up my experience is if there's anything to do with moving or storing water, that's the kind of engineering and infrastructure that I've worked on. So that includes everything from dams and reservoirs to pipelines, intake structures, pump stations, storage reservoirs, flow control facilities, tunnels, and I've done some hydroelectric power plants as well. And I'm very fortunate to have lived a lot of those projects from the planning phase into design and into construction and then into operations. And the photos that I've put up there, if somebody asked, why do you come to work every day? Those photos represent it. I really enjoy being able to see a project from start to finish and then standing at the finish line with the owners, the contractors, and the project team, and basically turning it on and recognizing the value that it's going to provide for generations to come. I think I got one more slide. Oh, I'm sorry, I have 2 more slides. I did want to share this with you. I've been able to work on a lot of significant projects, but one relevant significant project I wanted to point out was the Central Utah project. So, and it has a lot of similarities to kind of the Delta conveyance work. The purpose of the Central Utah project is to move Colorado River water to the Wasatch Front. This project includes 44 miles of 96-inch to 60-inch diameter pipe, flow control facilities, reservoirs, and hydropower facilities. In getting that work done from 2007 to 2023, we issued 23 separate design and construction projects. Our final EIS and our record of decision was issued in 2004. And so you can see the time frame that it takes to build big infrastructure projects like that. Along the way, as part of the NEPA work that we had to do, we had 3 environmental assessments that needed to be completed and a lot of categorical exclusions. The project was delivered with an integrated owner, Bureau of Reclamation, program management team approach. And so we all work together as partners to help build the infrastructure that you see there. When you go 44 miles, you can imagine there's a lot of right-of-way issues, permitting issues, utilities, and a number of stakeholders that get engaged along the way. So the project was put together to help meet schedule based on the water demands from the growing population that it served, but also to meet the federal funding and the cash flow that was coming. So the final slide I have here is just to give you a little idea of what my role is here with the DCA. So I support Graham and the team with all the engineering and technical requirements of the project. I provide technical management and leadership of the engineering design management team. So that means coordinating with the facility design leads, the geotechnical leads, engaging our subject matter experts and technical resources, cost estimators. And then also beyond the engineering, coordinating and partnering with other DCA team members, including our environmental and CEQA and permitting team, right-of-way and property group, and then public engagement and education and the outreach support. I've had the pleasure of leading some of the tours too that have been given this last summer. So, and with that, I'm open to any questions you might have or items you want to discuss.
I'm looking at that map that you showed. You have quite a constellation of.
Yeah, I have spent a lot of nights in hotels. I'll tell you that. So.
Okay, do we have any comments or questions from the board?
Adam, for participating with us on this project. It looks like something you're very familiar with, and the challenges should be what you've already had experience with. So I'm very happy to have you on our team.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah, Director Cheng, you right there, and then Director Anapdawi.
Thanks, President Palmer. And I think my comment is that very happy to hear about the staff, the high quality staff that we have. I think having the background provided to us certainly gives me more assurance that the project is in good hands. So thank you very much. And Adam, very appreciative that you are lending your skills to kind of move this project forward. Looking forward to making some more progress on this. Thanks.
Thank you, Robert.
Thanks, Director. Director Anapdawi.
Just real brief, Adam, it's such a pleasure to get to know you more. Your enthusiasm and passion is oozing out as you talk about your history, your experience, and what you're doing for this project. This is not an easy one, so it helps to have people passionate and committed to performing the best work on a project of this complexity. So we're happy to have you. We're lucky to have you, and thanks for giving us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
Adam, thank you for coming before us. This senior spotlight is something that's one of my favorite things that we do on the board, and gives us a chance to meet people that are working on the project. You seem well qualified. Especially congratulations on your 25th wedding anniversary.
Yes, thank you.
You can accomplish that. DCA should be pretty easy. But I just would ask, do you have tunneling experience at all?
I do. I rely on our tunneling experts, but a lot of my projects, I have completed a lot of tunnels. I'll just tell you, when I joined CH2M Hill, one of my first projects was here in Sacramento. And Andrew Finney, who's one of our tunneling people on the project, he and I tunneled across the American River with a force main project that had vertical shafts and a 5-foot diameter tunnel. So I've lived tunneling projects and large diameter pipeline projects, and so yes.
I particularly like your statement that you're engineer first.
I
And all
am.
the other things that follow. So I would probably suggest your husband first, engineer close second.
Oh, yes,
And-
yes, very, very good point.
So thank you for that.
Thank you, Director Martin. Anyone else?
Yeah, if I could just echo everybody's accolades of your passion for your work. I was wondering if you could share a highlight that you've come home and said, honey, guess what I did today at the DCA? Is there a memory that comes to you of a big accomplishment throughout this process?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that here at the DCA, as Graham says, I started in April, and it takes a little while to drink from the fire hose and understand what you guys are trying to accomplish here. But now that I've had time to do that, I've really enjoyed understanding what the vision of this project is, how it's going to benefit long term, and things like that. So I guess outside of the DCA project, like I mentioned in my slideshows, I really love when I can take a project from planning to design and construction and then turn it on, and think about how that project's going to live into the future and all of the people that are going to benefit from it when I'm gone, So those are the kind of things I come home and talk to my wife about, and saying, look what we accomplished today, right?
Mhm.
Look what the team accomplished today and how it's going to benefit everyone. So
Thank you for that. Thank you
Yeah.
for your work.
Something I'm very pleased to see that you have had experience with is working with or accommodating people who are stakeholders in the various different locations, because as you know, that's not necessarily an easy task. And so the fact that you have that experience under your belt, I think is going to be very beneficial. And it's important to have that understanding for those who are involved. Thank you. Okay, anything else? Nope, no other comments? All right, thank you so much. That is exciting. So please, let's get on then to item 6D, which we alluded to as we came out of closed session today.
Yeah, and Josh is on the line.
Okay, thank you, Josh.
Yeah, thanks, President Palmer. So the item before you is the board's consideration of approving the Sixth Amendment to the Baker-Tilly Agreement to transfer the agreement for executive director services from Baker-Tilly to Bradner Consulting LLC. Baker-Tilly has historically held this contract. They have indicated, while they're very supportive of the DCA and the project, this is a relatively unique arrangement and not the type of services that it generally provides to clients. For that reason, it encouraged the DCA to consider alternatives, and the alternative that we're proposing to move forward with would be to assign the agreement to Bradner Consulting LLC. There would be no changes to the actual services provided, as Mr. Bradner would remain as the named executive director. If approved, this amendment would be effective January 1st, and it qualifies as a direct contract under the DCA's procurement policies for the reasons identified in the staff report. Lastly, for those in the room and also online, hard copies of the staff report and proposed amendment are available if you'd like to review those. And for those on Zoom, an updated version of the packet has been posted, which includes this material. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, do we have any questions from the board? Anyone on any of the board members online? Do you have any questions?
I see that Director Anaptawi has a question.
Oh, sorry, there, and also Director Chang. So Director Anaptawi,
Oh, sorry, Chang.
which one? Well, Director
Chang.
Chang, I see your hand, so go ahead, Director Chang.
Thanks, President Palmer. Not a question, but more of a comment. I would just, I just want to express my appreciation to Graham for being flexible to kind of, work around, this particular contracting issue, and still be able to, offer his services, to this body to help move the project forward. So just a comment. Thanks.
Very good. Any other comments from the board, either on Zoom or in the room? No, I just wanted to say that as we were looking at this particular project, I am to echo Director Chang. I'm quite pleased that we have been able to go forward with this, and that Mr. Bradner has come forward with this solution, and I think it will be a good solution overall. So I'm looking forward to this. And do we have any public comment?
President Palmer, we do not.
Okay, do we have any motions in the room?
I'll move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, so we have a first and a second. And any other discussion? Nope. Okay, let us bring this to a vote then.
President Palmer,
Aye.
Director Millibar, Director Martin,
Aye.
Director Luna,
Aye.
Director Estromera,
Aye.
Director Chang,
Aye.
and Director Anaptawi.
Yes.
Right,
Okay.
resolution
So that
passes.
resolution is passed. Now, before we move on to the staff reports, I did want to raise something. We all know, it's the elephant in the room, basically, that DWR released the final EIR last Friday, December 8th. And since there's been no decision made by the department on the final EIR or on the project, we won't be discussing this today as a board. Our attorney, Josh Nelson, will provide a more detailed statement later in this meeting. So that's it. Okay, so let's proceed. Let's proceed. We are back on to staff reports, starting with General Counsel.
Yeah, thanks, President Palmer. I think you kind of teed up my report. I appreciate that. So on December 8th, DWR released the final EIR to fulfill a requirement of CEQA to send proposed responses to the comments on the draft EIR from public agencies. For transparency purposes, DWR has also posted this document on its website. However, CEQA does not create, and DWR is not providing, a public comment period for the final EIR. This release of the final EIR is the last step in the CEQA process prior to DWR deciding whether to certify the EIR as meeting CEQA's requirements. DWR will then utilize the EIR to determine whether to approve the proposed Delta Conveyance project, a project alternative, or no project. That's all I had, but happy to answer any questions.
Okay, great. Do we have any questions from the board in the room or in the Zoom? None? Okay, do we have any public comment?
Public comment requests.
Okay, then let us proceed. Thank you so much, Mr. Nelson, and let's go on to Treasurer's Report.
Good afternoon, Kataro Kasaine, your treasurer. So this report is for the months of October, November, and as you know, we are reporting every 2 months since we typically don't meet monthly, even though I feel like we've been meeting monthly. As of last time we reported this for you, as October 1, we had about a little over $1.8 million in the fund. Thereafter, we received payments from the DCA DCO rather, paid some bills, and we ended November 30th with 1,503,825. With that, we also reported for the same month receivables of a little over $3 million. And that consists of about 14 invoices that we received from the DCO. As we continue to pay our bills and manage these funds, we also want to note that we do get advance of that $800,000 to make sure that we prepay some of the bills that we pay on leases and other things that we can't wait to pay and when we receive the funds. For those who are new, the way this works, we receive money from the DCO, we receive the invoices, we reconcile, pay that, and report to you monthly. So we don't really hold a lot of money with us. It's really receiving and paying bills. We've attached all the schedules. If you have any questions, comments, I'm here, and so is our controller. And we're happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any questions from the board, either room or Zoom? And no public comment request. All right, thank you very much. We really appreciate your work and your input. Then let's get on to the DCP Communications Report, item 7C.
Good afternoon, Chair and board members. It's been very busy since last we spoke. We continue to collaborate closely with DWR to support appropriate shared information and materials distribution. Our informational program to drive understanding of the proposed project is forging ahead. This includes fact sheets, videos, and a statewide and localized social media program. We've supported the executive director and board members in conducting briefings and presentations for individuals and organizations. This month, the executive director presented to the Orange County Business Council Infrastructure Committee. That went really well. Great questions, lots of interest. Aqua was very successful. We had our first ever booth, which provided a great centralized point of information for people curious about the proposed project. The admin and outreach team, including Claudia, Jennifer, Lakia, Yadira, Hannah, and Ben, did a bang-up job of ensuring the materials and overall look and feel of the booth was aligned with our branding. As usual, we were coordinating deeply with DWR even at the conference. We are continuing to work with our partner agencies to ensure we are providing support with materials and project information as needed. And tours continued through earlier this month and will resume at the beginning of next year, depending on weather conditions and as requests are made. Any questions? I'm trying to keep it brief.
Questions from the room or the Zoom? I don't see anybody there. Anybody in here? No, good work as usual, Valerie. We are very pleased that you're working with us on this.
Thank you so much. It's my privilege.
It was very good. I think there were some good questions there, and it was a very successful meeting. So thanks very much to you and your team. Okay.
Can I just say that, I do want to highlight that, the communications team has been so available for any questions and even thinking through what's out there in the media. So thank you, Valerie, to you and your team for being so available.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And sending to us that we need to check out that come in the news. I mean, I do appreciate that because it's hard to keep up with all of these things, and your communications is spot on. Okay, great. Okay, any public comment at all?
President Palmer, we do not have any requests.
Okay, so we're on to verbal comments. Does anyone have any verbal comments? Other than it is really fun to go on these tours and pour water all over that map at Big Break. It's just it's a great thing. It's wonderful to see the folks that come, and hopefully we will see more of those tours because I think they're quite valuable for people to learn a lot from the issues and from the location. So you guys are doing great. At any rate, okay, so now we are on to future agenda items. Anything? No, anything from any of the other folks on Zoom? No? Okay, then we're getting into general public comment now. And let me read a little reminder of where this is. Members of the public may address the authority on matters that are within the authority's jurisdiction, but not on the agenda at this time. Speakers are generally limited to 3 minutes each. However, the chair, that's me, may further limit this time when reasonable based on the circumstances. Persons wishing to speak may do so remotely through the electronic meeting link by scanning the QR code, which is on the agenda, or teleconference number when recognized by the chair. The DCA encourages public comments and requests that speakers present their remarks in a respectful manner within established time limits and focus on issues which directly affect the DCA or are within its jurisdiction. And I might add that when public comment comes in at this point, even if we wish that we could respond and maybe say some things in response to it, we don't do it at this particular juncture. So they will just stand as they are. Okay, do we have any public comment?
President Palmer, we did get one request from Charles Wilson.
Charles Wilson. Okay, Mr. Wilson, good to hear from you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Charlie Wilson. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the Executive Director of the Southern California Water Coalition. And just as a brief overview, we're a broad-based coalition of interests that range from business and industry, agriculture, water, cities, counties, organized labor, environmental NGOs, and disadvantaged community grassroots organizations dedicated exclusively to focusing on water resiliency and reliability for the Southern California region. By that, I mean roughly Kern County to the north to the Mexican border and out to the state line, covering roughly 27 million of the state's population. I'm calling today to share with you that the final EIR that was discussed, and I know you're taking no action on today, that EIR and the excitement that has been generated around it is exactly what we have been waiting for in Southern California for quite some time. As we see it, the DWR and the proposed project is critical to the modernization of the State Water Project, along with addressing issues like climate change and some say potential, I use the terminology, eventual seismic catastrophe in the Bay Delta area. I never like to quote others, but I will say in this case, I'm going to plagiarize from the very best. And as our governor said, doing nothing is not an option at this point, and we need to find a way to get this built. And while we understand there is a lot still to do, I just wanted to share with you today that we look forward to working with you and the other major stakeholders in moving this forward, and to the extent we can provide you with a resource to disseminate information and to stimulate dialogue, we look forward to doing that. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wilson. Much appreciated. Anything else for public comment?
President Palmer, this was the only comment request we received for this item.
Well, that was a delightful way to end our meeting. So at this point, I am going to use my favorite thing here and adjourn this meeting.
Right.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Holidays to everybody. Merry
Merry
Christmas.
Christmas, Hanukkah, Wanzah.
Hanukkah.